Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. I remember quite a few years ago when Dan Brown's book, The Da Vinci Code, was causing a stir across our country. If you never read the book or never saw the movie starring Tom Hanks, one of the premises is that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were married and had a child, and as the book develops, they search for the living descendant from that line. About when the book was published, I went to our Synod Assembly, and in one of our worship services, Bishop Donges was preaching, and he told us, "I have solved the Da Vinci Code." It caught our attention, and then he continued, "On the cover of the book are 6 letters, and if you arrange them in just the right order, it tells you the truth about the whole thing." We sat listening intently, and then he said, "The letters spell out a novel." In other words, all the controversy and speculation about Jesus and Mary Magdalene and the story told by the book was fiction. There really wasn't a controversy. The whole thing was just a story to entertain. This week we are talking about women in the New Testament who are all named Mary, and certainly Mary Magdalene is one of those. Unfortunately, the truth about Mary Magdalene has been muddled over the years by quite a few things that most likely turn out to be fiction too. One of the longest traditions was that she was a prostitute, but in fact there's no evidence for that whatsoever. She has been identified with the woman who put perfume on Jesus' feet and dried them with her hair, and the only reason people thought that was Mary was that Luke tells that story, and in the verses that follow there is another story that mentions Mary. But again, there's no evidence that the woman with the perfume was Mary Magdalene. Luke does tell us that Mary was healed of 7 demons, and no one really knows what that means, other than to say that Jesus healed her of some sort of significant ailment. Another thing we can know is that Mary Magdalene seems to be one of a group of women who followed Jesus and helped provide for him and all his followers. That means that instead of being a prostitute or a poor, sick woman, Mary likely was a woman of means and enough wealth to help support the group of followers. She may have been in the upper crust of society. She came from a town called Magdala on the Sea of Galilee, and that's why she's called Mary Magdalene, and that's pretty much what we know about Mary. She was healed, she followed, and provided for Jesus. Oh, there's one more thing. More than just about anyone else, she had the courage of her convictions. You see, on that night when Jesus was arrested, all the disciples fled, but Mary Magdalene stayed. At the foot of the cross, Mary stayed with Jesus. And at the resurrection, it was Mary who first saw and spoke of the risen Lord. Now, of course, her faith and commitment to Jesus is admirable to us. At risk to herself, she stood by Jesus when the going got tough, and perhaps that's something we might need to consider in our own lives. Are we fair-weather Christians only? Can we be honest and at least admit that we aren't sure if we would stand fast when we are put at risk for our faith? There's something else I want to mention as well, which can be an issue depending on your particular denomination of Christianity. Some denominations don't allow women to be pastors, often citing that Jesus' disciples were all men. However, the first person who proclaimed the news of the resurrection, the very heart of the gospel, was a woman, Mary Magdalene. And then there's this. Luke tells us that Jesus healed Mary Magdalene from some ailment, and then she turns out to be the vessel through which the news of our salvation is first told. It makes you think that God can work through broken vessels like us, too. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.